Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies. And you know they are really groovy. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies. And we know they are really groovy.
Tonight on Two Guys and Two Gals, because we have a special guest, Elana Lange. She is here. We love when she's here. So it's Two Guys and Two Gals, and we will be talking about Willem Dafoe. We will be diving into the mesmerizing world of this actor. He is versatile. He's captivated audiences for decades with his incredible range and ability to disappear into any role. From his intense, unforgettable performances in some of the biggest blockbusters to his nuanced work in indie gems, Dafoe is a true chameleon who brings depth and complexity to every character he portrays. So join us as we explore his extraordinary talent and we're all going to discuss our favorite performances, including Elana Lange again. And here is Manny Zamora, Rory eating his popcorn Penland,
yes,
and the aforementioned Elana Lange that we all love.
Hi. Thank you, Renee.
aforementioned.
So, and here's the pic, and here he is. Here is the man himself.
Here's the man, the myth, the legend.
The man,
Yeah,
the myth, the legend.
I love to say he's a chameleon, but he's got such a kind of a strange look about him.
He is a weird looking guy.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
his
he's got that kind of
voice,
insane
too.
smile, you know. It really adds itself to like villains and bad guys. But again, like you said, he has played some really nice characters too. And, you know, he seems to be kind of a gentle soul in real life.
Yeah, but he does come off as, I think it's the angular part of and his smile is a little like a V sometimes. So I think that's the villainy aspect, right?
Right, yeah.
A lot of people said that they really missed the boat when they didn't cast him as the Joker. Because he's really got that kind of look about his face. They say Jim Carrey has a rubber face, that he has that kind of face. I would have to say Willem Dafoe.
That would
Yeah.
that would be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he wasn't cast, but I guess at the time he wasn't as big a name as Jack Nicholson. So
Well, yeah, if you get Jack Nicholson.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
But yeah, Heath Ledger was a big challenge or a big stretch.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean,
Oh,
He
he
was
was
great.
amazing, though.
yeah, because he's such an incredible actor. You know, he pulled it off beautifully and did his own thing with it.
Mhm. So, all right, yeah. Well, actually, we're talking about Willem Dafoe because Elana wanted to talk about Willem Dafoe, and I was like, "Oh, heck yeah!"
And what Elana wants.
Thanks,
What
guys.
Elana wants, Elana gets.
Thank you.
So, you know, musical theater. What can I say? So, Elana, what is it about Willem Dafoe that excites you?
Okay, well,
everything you
first
just
I want
talked
to
about?
say that I was getting my MFA in dramaturgy, which is the art of making theater, but I mostly specialized on performance art. And this was in the late 90s. And this was, I believe Willem Dafoe was just starting to get into movies in the mid 80s. Anyway, he used to belong, and he's on the board now, and he still does belong, but I don't think that he does live performances anymore. At the Performing Garage, there is a group called the Worcester Group, and his very long partner, his partner of 27 years, is Elizabeth Lecomte, who directs the performances. And he and Elizabeth Lecomte and Kate Valk, and I'm not sure who else technically founded it, but Frances McDormand was involved and Steve Buscemi was involved. And because I was there in the late 90s, I had the wonderful experience of seeing each of them live in a small black box theater in very different kinds of performance pieces. And I didn't actually talk to him, but he seems like a beautiful person. I was very excited with the work that they do. I recommend them. Anybody that happens to be in New York City, I guess technically it's Soho. Go down to Soho to the Performance Garage and see some amazing, captivating work. Frances McDormand and Steve Buscemi, I believe, still make appearances. Elizabeth LeCompte is an amazing director. Kate Valk is an incredible performer and artist. And so I saw him in some movies, and then I had this incredible experience, and I love him. He's an amazing performer. He has a very distinct look and a very distinct voice, and yet he is able to climb into these characters both when he's in film and when he is in theater, and it's just astonishing and amazing, and I loved getting to do this, so thank you very much. Sorry, that's my dog.
What I enjoyed most when we were researching for this was watching interviews that he gave about his performances. You know, how some people ask you, okay, break down your most iconic characters, that kind of thing. And he's a lot of fun to watch in interviews. I mean,
he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, and he likes to talk about the how do I put this? The science of performance, you know, of acting.
Which is one thing I adore. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
And yeah, he really is into what he does.
Oh my goodness.
And you can see that
so
he relishes talking about it behind scenes. So,
and when you watch him in, you know, he does these big blockbuster movies. He does war movies. He does, you know, horror movies. He does comedies. He does everything. He does major films. He does independent films. And he's done that his whole career, and he does 5-6 movies maybe a year. And one of the interviews I was really impressed with was there's a director named Lars von Trier who, if you've seen a Lars von Trier movie, they're pretty hard to watch sometimes. They can be pretty gory and graphic. In the vein of David Lynch, he tries to give you images to portray the story, but his images can be very graphic. And one of the interviews I just loved was Willem Dafoe called Lars von Trier and said, "What is the next project you're working on?" And he told him, and Willem Dafoe said that sounds incredible. And Lars von Trier, not even realizing that, you know, he was scoping out to be in this movie, said, "Would you want to do this?" And he said, I would be honored to do this. And that's just so incredible to me that he's, you know, not just acting, he's not just taking on roles that are villains, you know, he's taking on all these different ones, and he goes out and he looks for what he finds interesting and captivating and different, very different. And so he's, you know, I would say that he's definitely inspired me in my career.
So Elana, you were mentioning backstage that you were going to do your list a little bit differently from the way we normally do it.
Right. Thank you,
were going to
Manny.
base it on.
I did my list instead of the top 5
directors.
Performances. What I did was I used Willem Dafoe's work as a control because I am so familiar with him as an actor. And what I did was I used him to look at what directors that I'm interested in, how they used him, what kinds of pieces he was in, what he got, you know, some of his work is completely improvisational. Some of his work is semi-scripted. Some of his work is completely scripted, but those tend to be more the blockbusters. And so I had a very like you said, Rory, he likes to talk about performance as a science. And so I kind of made this into a science experiment. And it was fascinating, and I am very excited to tell everybody what I found.
Okay. All right. Well, that said, what's first on your list?
Okay.
What director? What movie?
So my first movie is Inside, which is 2023, and
Okay.
I am very sorry. I'm probably going to butcher his name. Vasilis Katsoupolis. Inside is a movie that was done during COVID, and it basically is about an art thief who gets locked in the penthouse of a very wealthy man who is on vacation for an extended period of time in I'm sorry, an Eastern European country, and I can't remember what country it was right now. But so it's interesting because you have this gorgeous penthouse, and the gorgeous penthouse is, you know, regulated. Everything is regulated by the internet. And so because they are on vacation, Willem Dafoe is not stuck in a regulated penthouse. He's stuck in a penthouse that only has certain things that it delivers right now. Like it waters the plants. It, you know, the alarm works, but the water doesn't work. The television doesn't work. He breaks the alarm when he realizes that he's stuck in this penthouse, which breaks the temperature control. And basically what happened in this film is the director said, here's 2 hours. Here's what I'm interested in doing. Go do it. And wow. I was reading an article in the New Yorker, and it was talking about how this movie from 2023 is a throwback to a lot of his performance work, which would be with the Wooster Group. And basically, you know, he goes in there and he just delivers an incredible performance. The temperature is off. He's boiling. He's trying to, you know, drink some of the plant water. He's trying to, you know, eat. There's a little bit of fruit on the island of the kitchen, and it's all not edible because it's gone bad. And you just see, you know, what pretty much the horror of technology and what technology can do. And it's a fascinating movie. I don't think anybody could have done it except for Willem Dafoe, quite frankly, because it really is a one-man show that he improvised a lot of. And so that was very interesting to get to learn that director's work through, you know, how Willem Dafoe uses the space and what little instruction he got. That's Inside.
I need to see that. Surprised that slipped off under my radar, you know, when I was looking for movies. It sounds fascinating.
I had to do I had to look up. So for my experiment, I had to actually look up, you know, individual things about him. You know, I had to look up some individual directors. I had to actually look up like art cinema, and, you know, some of these are not like Vasilis Katsoupolis. I believe that's Greek.
Hey,
it sounds Greek.
Is it a feature film or a short or?
No, it's a feature
movie.
film, and it actually was in the theaters during COVID.
Oh, okay.
And available to watch during COVID. But again, the very interesting part of Willem Dafoe is that when you Google search him, you're going to find Platoon and you know, bigger movies.
5 lists.
you have to look, you know, you have to really dig deep, and it's worth it. It was amazing. I highly recommend this movie. I love this movie.
Yeah, you know, I remembered it, but I didn't watch it, and now I kind of regret that I didn't.
Oh, it's great.
Because I remember seeing the trailers, and you know, it's basically just him for the entire movie.
It is, and it's also it's like a puzzle. The movie
Mhm.
is kind of like a puzzle, and so there are three things, and I won't divulge what those three things are, that basically carry you through the movie and through his performance. And so part of it is watching him, and part of it is he narrates some of the story. But you're watching him the whole time, even when he is narrating certain things. And what you're left with at the end, just visually, is this incredible puzzle that I personally can't, like, I want to watch it again because I can't get that last scene out of my head. So I definitely would recommend this movie. I'd never heard of it before, so I think it was not on a lot of people's radars.
Yeah, it kind of slipped by.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, great. Yeah. So Rory, what's your number one? What's on your list?
I am a creature to my passions. And I'm sorry, the coolest performance he ever did, period, bar none, hasn't topped it, is Spider-Man.
That's my number two.
When he was Norman Osborn,
yeah.
AKA the Green Goblin, and again his performance in No Way Home, which is also very multi-layered, and you're wondering, oh, can they change him? Can they, make him okay? Oh, well, maybe not. I mean, that takes a hell of an actor to do a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde like that and give such a strong performance, without being too corny,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't see all of him half the time. He's wearing like a full mask too, and you can act through that.
Well, and again, that's that you were talking about the voice. The voice is very distinct. And again, when he becomes Green Goblin, the voice actually becomes a little different.
Yes.
And he kind of pulled a Batman Michael Keaton there, when he puts on the mask, the voice is very different. Follow the shiver down your cold spine.
Exactly.
So, which is my favorite line from the movie, the first one. But again, he's wonderful in No Way Home as well when he comes back, as is Alfred Molina, as Dr. Octopus.
Right, yeah.
So, it's a guilty pleasure, but it's my number one. They are my number one, I should say. They kind of tied.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. All right, so my number one is one that I just watched recently, and it kind of knocked something else off the list, but this is kind of a weird thing. So I didn't really like it the first time I watched it, but then I thought, okay, let me give it another chance, let me give it another look, and it just shot up to my number one after the second time I saw it, and it's The Lighthouse.
Okay.
It's him and Robert Pattinson, and it's directed by the same guy who directed Nosferatu, Robert Eggers. But holy cow, this is, talk about a tour de force from both of them. I know Pattinson kind of gets dismissed because of the whole Twilight thing, and people say, oh, he's just a pretty boy, but he puts in such an awesome performance in this movie. They both do. I mean,
he's a good actor.
They go toe to toe, literally. Sometimes they're fighting, sometimes they're dancing, and this movie is often billed as a horror movie, and it certainly has horrific aspects to it, but it's not obvious. It's not, well, it is obvious, but what I mean is you don't really know if there's an actual supernatural you don't really know if there's an actual supernatural element to it, or if these two guys are just playing crazy, because of the isolation. But Willem Dafoe just plays the hell out of this character as this crusty old guy who's been doing this job for years and years, and he's got that kind of Irish accent going on, you know, and the old
Arr.
salt. Yeah. And just the weird shit that happens in this movie really keeps you like, it really kept me engaged. Like, okay, what is going to happen next? And at first, like I said, I thought, oh, this is just weird for weirdness sake. But on second viewing, it's like, oh no, there's some thought behind this. There's
So, you
some.
know, I felt a lot of that when I was watching Nosferatu.
Mhm.
Like, okay, he's just trying so hard. You know, it's almost too much. You know,
Yeah.
he's trying so hard for the atmosphere that they had in the first one.
Yeah.
And again, they had to do it in the first one because it was a silent movie.
Right. Yeah.
So they had to do all the shadow play and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought he was trying too hard, and I was aware of it.
Yeah. Well, I just saw those as homages to the original movie. I mean, they did it in the other remake, the first remake with Klaus Kinski. You know, but and even Dracula.
I hate that one. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
It was such a weird too.
But yeah, the original. They have not topped the original Nosferatu.
No.
With Max Schreck, and there's another movie that I'm going to talk about later.
Black and white with no sound.
I have one to talk about later too.
So, but anyway, so The Lighthouse is my number one. It's just it's Dafoe and Patterson. Just
I didn't realize Patterson was in it. Otherwise, I probably would have watched it. I had to decide not to watch some movies, you know, because
This movie,
that one didn't seem to be.
If you are reading from the same playbook, now I'm really gonna rip out my MFA. Robert Eggers. So just real quick, number 2 is Spider-Man for me. It was filmed in my neighborhood in Queens, and it was so exciting to go, and we had like a big party in my neighborhood, and it was amazing. And I didn't really pay attention to what he was doing, so I watched it again, and it is just, it blows my mind. Like you were saying, how he can do the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like he's just amazing.
Well,
that was
Sam
my number
Raimi,
one.
Sam Raimi is a great director.
He's a wonderful director. Brain. So the thing about The Lighthouse, Robert Eggers is actually reading the same people I read when I did my MFA. He deals a lot with mythology. He deals a lot with Georges Bataille's Story of the Eye, which is basically a lot of the passions reach this climax, and it's almost turning into this like homoerotic movie, and then they have to split and beat the shit out of each other because they have to reclaim their masculinity. And I'm watching it and I'm looking at what he's doing, and I'm like, oh my god, this is he read George Bataille. Like that's what this is right here. And the whole mythology, not just the mythology about the lighthouse, the mythology about sailors, but also mythology in general. He deals so much with Greek mythology, and it was amazing. I mean, he was one of the directors that I was most interested in because I could see from his film who he studies. Like it was incredible. I wasn't even watching the movie, and then it occurred to me, is this based on something? Is this one of those, you know, it could very well have been based on a play, you know? There are a lot of Shakespearean moments in the dialogue. There are a lot of like, when they see the light and they open the light to the lighthouse, it's like, oh, and it's, you know, this all encompassing. And you get that with the birds. You're not allowed to kill a bird because it could be a seafarer.
The Rime of the Ancient Mariner story. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you've read that, which probably not many people have read that, but which I focused on in my work, it was it's there. It is right there, and it's fascinating. And I have high hopes. I have not yet seen Nosferatu 2024, but I have very high hopes based on what I saw, and I could see through Lighthouse directly into the pages of books that I've read, you know, philosophy books that I've read.
Don't get me wrong, it's an entertaining film, but don't get your hopes too high.
Well, you know, I mean, who
just
knows
say,
what I'll see too? You know, I might not.
you know,
I might
yeah,
not
it's
see
true. You
what
might
other
see
people
stuff.
see.
You might see stuff that we didn't see. You know, I mean, that
Right.
goes-
I mean, definitely there's one
But
on
again,
my
there's a
list
lot of
that I
visual
didn't
stuff that
see certain
he says it's
things
homage to the
that other
original.
people
I'm thinking,
see.
yeah, you're just trying too hard to be like the original. So I was, and again, I can't remember if we talked about this before the show or at the beginning of the show, but the look of the Nosferatu, they decided to go with the Vlad the Impaler look with the blonde
that makes me nervous.
handlebar mustache. Yeah. It's like Sons of Anarchy Dracula.
That makes me kind of nervous.
It looks more like a biker than a vampire, but
and
I mean, if
he's all dressed in leather with the handlebar mustache.
If you base it on some, obscure philosopher that I've read, then maybe I'll be like, oh my god, that's because of whatever, So who knows?
Yeah. Blood talk.
But don't let us deter you. Watch Nosferatu and make up your own mind. I do love. I know we're getting off a little bit off topic, but to me, the best performances were from Nicholas Hoult and Lily Rose Depp, who's Johnny Depp's daughter. She plays the
in Nosferatu, yes.
Yeah, she's the girl, and of course, and Willem Dafoe, doing basically the Van Helsing part. He was very good in this as well. So, yeah.
So it should be interesting, but yeah, Lighthouse is sorry I skipped, so you guys can kind of catch up, but Lighthouse, really, I mean, if you're into if you're into the dynamics of pleasure and pain, and you've read Bataille and the story of the eye, and some of the things that people don't like to talk about or say that they've read, that hey, I've read it. I'm on the same page as Eggers, and so to me that was really, really amazing. I was very surprised though that it was not a play originally, because I really saw that in there too. But yeah, the performances are amazing, and there are moments where they come together in this, like, again, homoerotic kind of way right before they clash. And that's how you can see that philosopher talking in that film. And I believe, I don't know for sure, but I believe that Robert Eggers, I mean, I don't know, unless there's somebody else that wrote something extremely similar to, George's Bataille, it's fascinating to me.
Hey, Rory.
Every time she says it, I hear George Takei. I was like, goodbye.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned it being a play, because the way I read it or looked at it was almost like Waiting for Godot, but with monsters and madness.
I could definitely see that.
So, okay, well, Rory, let's move on. What's your number 2?
Before we move on to my number 2, she was mentioning that Spider-Man was her number 2. And again, the nuanced performance that he gives as Osborn and Green Goblin, the scene where the board takes over and susses him out, and he's trying to defend himself. The scene where he's just trying to have dinner with normal people and his son, and he just turns into a total jerk before walking out, talking about MJ and everything. I mean, man, oh man, what a performance. And again, I give him all the credit in the world for that, but I also have to give credit to Sam Raimi, who just a phenomenal director, in my opinion. We haven't done a Sam Raimi show yet, I don't think, and we should.
I want
You
to
will.
give
You will.
credit also to my neighborhood, which is in all of the Queens backdrops when they're at home. It's beautiful, beautiful neighborhood, Sunnyside, Queens. Go Queens.
Yeah.
So my number 2, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. We were talking to Gene Hackman. That's Mississippi Burning. Another great performance.
Mhm.
A real character, regular character, not something that's, broad and it's not like a character or a caricature. It's a real person.
He's not a metaphor.
And he's very concerned about what's happening with the civil rights movement in the South when they're in Mississippi. And again, some wonderful performing, and he's kind of butting heads with his partner, played by Gene Hackman in the movie. So that adds a lot of attention to it. So again, a very, very masterful, almost theatrical performance. And you just get all the little nuances of his character throughout the film. And Hackman does his best to make his character kind of the same, but different. But really, it's Dafoe's performance that you really grab hold on in that film.
Yeah.
So I gotta give him credit for that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a truly wonderful movie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my number 2 is maybe he's done a few movies that are, I guess you would call it, controversial. This is certainly one of the more controversial movies that Martin Scorsese ever made, and it's The Last Temptation of Christ. And it's a movie that's not based on the Gospels, but it's sort of a retelling of the story.
I like to call it Creepy Christ.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this movie. I should probably see this.
It's a very interesting take on the gospel or the gospel story. And Dafoe here plays a very, very intense Jesus who at first sort of rejects the whole mission of being the savior, and the voice of God apparently is just like this thunder in his head that causes him just this pain. But he finally decides, well, it's actually, he's convinced by Judas, who's played by oh heck, I had his name right in my head right now.
I want to say Harvey Keitel.
Harvey Keitel, thank you.
Is that
Played by Harvey Keitel. He convinces him to, hey, no, you've got to complete this mission. You are the one who's going to save Israel. You're going to save the Jews. You're going to save the world. And you got to do this. And so he's like, okay, well, so he goes out and he completes the mission. And the big controversy was that when it comes to the crucifixion, he is tempted. This girl appears to him as an angel and says, okay, you've done enough. Come down and just live your life as a man, which he does. He marries Mary Magdalene and has relations with her, and lives his life as a human. And then things literally go to hell afterwards.
Interesting.
And Judas comes to him and rebukes him and says, look out, the world is literally on fire outside. And he says, this is all you're doing. This is because you refused your destiny, and so he has to fulfill his destiny. But it's an interesting time. You were talking about mythology and all that sort of thing. And this is kind of the approach that it takes. This is kind of a mythical story of the world redeemer, and having to fulfill that they cannot shirk their responsibility or their destiny. It has to be fulfilled in order for prophecy, in order for everything to be what it is. And but I love Dafoe playing Jesus because it's just
I
such
like
a
the
different
picture
take.
of him playing Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
look at how different he looks than other. Like, that's that's a perfect example of how he can become anyone.
Yeah.
Being that I was raised Orthodox Jewish, I did miss this one. I believe this one was probably in the 80s. Was this movie in the 80s?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
did miss this movie, and I
Yeah.
should watch it.
Give it a look. Yeah.
Yeah. We should have like a little, you know.
Yeah. And besides,
we should have a little like side episode, like the
all
first
the movies
time
we missed.
viewing.
Yeah.
Temptation of Christ.
and besides Defoe and Keitel, Barbara Hershey plays Mary Magdalene, and there's a great cameo by David Bowie.
Oh,
And
nice.
I won't say who he plays, but it's like, oh, he's playing this character. Cool. So it's a good movie.
Sounds interesting.
It's an interesting, like I said, it's an interesting take on that story.
You know what it
and
reminds
kind
me
of,
of?
yeah,
Just
go ahead.
hearing you talk about it, it reminds me of the cabin in the. I think it was called the cabin. Knock at the Cabin by when we did M. Night Shyamalan. Do you remember that one? Where the world was
Knocking at the
burning
Cabin or something.
outside and they had
Right.
to choose who they were going to sacrifice of themselves. It sounds like it's in that vein. Interesting.
Yeah. So, all right, so that was my number 2.
So
My number 3 is Lighthouse.
Okay,
Lighthouse.
talk about that. Rory, your number 3.
A funny thing happened, as it usually does when I'm making these lists. I had a number 3 picked out on the list. I had to scratch it out when I watched the movie because the performance was just so much better, and it knocked the other performance down to the honorable mentions list. And Autofocus is a very intense movie about Bob Crane's addiction to porn.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
totally missed this movie.
oh my God. And it's full of wonderful performances, but the subject matter is so creepy and sleazy. Tom Hanks's wife, Rita, I want to say Wilson.
Wilson, uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Wilson! You know, that never even dawned on me until just now. Wilson! Rita Wilson plays Crane's wife, his original wife. And again, he's addicted to porn. And this was well documented. And Dafoe comes into the movie as a guy named John Carpenter, believe it or not. It's not the John Carpenter. He's another.
Oh, okay.
But he talks Crane into buying camera equipment, video equipment, the first video equipment when it came out. And he's, videotaping his sexual escapades with people that he meets, fans and stuff that he meets, and they have sex together. And he's getting all this footage of these people, having sex with him and his friend. And it was determined after his death that Carpenter was probably the person that killed Bob Crane, that he beat him over the head with a tripod while he was sleeping, and basically took a lot of the footage. I guess that had him in it. He stole it. So anyway, it's another stellar performance by Carpenter playing a creepy character, but you feel, like there's a whole thing when color comes out with video equipment, and he's colorblind, so he can't see it, and so he's like destroyed because now everybody's selling color and he can't even see it. So I get stuff like that all throughout the movie.
Is this based on a true? This is based on a.
This is based on a true story about Bob Crane, the actor that was on Hogan's Heroes, that played Colonel Hogan on Hogan's Heroes.
I think I heard about the actor, like the actual actor. I never
got to mention Greg Kinnear plays Bob Crane.
Plays Bob Crane.
Interesting. Okay.
And he does a wonderful job playing Crane.
Do you know what approximately?
Mid to late 80s, maybe.
Late 80s, early 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that got knocked off the list. because I watched At Eternity's Gate, which has Dafoe playing Van Gogh. And again, up until now, we've had to deal with Kirk Douglas playing Van Gogh, and he looks like Van Gogh, but he's like, I want to be in sunflowers.
Wow.
And I have to admit, Anthony Quinn is still Paul Gauguin to me. He's a great Gauguin. I can't remember who plays him in this movie.
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac. Okay, that's why, because I'm not a big fan of Oscar Isaac. Anyway, he's okay in it as Gauguin.
Yeah, he doesn't show up very long, but yeah.
And
Look at how much like Van Gogh he looks. Like just watching these photos.
I never would have thought. I never would have thought Dafoe, as Van Gogh. But like again, you think more Kirk Douglas, but he does look like Van Gogh in the movie. I mean, in some of the paintings that you've seen. Yeah. So, and his performance is so earnest and just, you see how he's going through, he's dealing with, basically the insanity. And, and you feel for him more, I think, in this movie than earlier representations of Van Gogh and his trying to deal with his mental health issues. So it's a wonderful performance movie. Again, because Dafoe is at the top of his game in it.
Nice.
And so that's my number 3.
Wow.
Well,
so now I have 2 movies.
Interestingly enough, that's my number 3 as well. So yeah, Kirk Douglas. Actually, Tim Roth has played Van Gogh.
That's right.
Tony Curran played him in an episode of Doctor Who.
Oh, there was like a documentary that I saw.
I've seen scenes from that Doctor Who episode where he actually shows him his paintings in a museum.
Yeah, and a little cameo from Bill Nighy as well. Yeah, and there's like a animated, I think it's called Love something Vincent with Love Vincent or something. That's done in the style of his paintings.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. But yeah, Dafoe as Van Gogh. I mean, and yeah, Oscar Isaac is in it.
Wow.
Mads Mikkelsen, who's in freaking everything, has a little cameo in this movie
somewhere.
As a priest. As this priest who's asking him all these questions, he's trying to figure out, should he stay at this, place, this like hospital or whatever. But yeah, it's absolutely anchored by Van Gogh, by
Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe playing
Dafoe as Van Gogh.
Dafoe as Van Gogh, and it is. It's one of the best. And the way it's shot, I think, is what makes this really unique as well. Is that it has this kind of documentary feel about it. There's a lot of handheld camera.
True.
There's a scene where he's in this room where he's just like taking his boots off and just settling into this room that looks like it was just shot like somebody was in the room. Well, obviously somebody is in the room, but like somebody was filming a documentary of him. And it's just this very simple scene.
Sounds fascinating.
Scenes with him outside. And yeah, like you said, he plays it. You see the sensitivity of him. You see him as an artist and
is very
his
good.
work and everything, and how people thought he was crazy. There's a scene where this group of school kids see him out painting, and of course they're all gathered around like, oh, what are you doing? What are you painting? Blah, blah, and they start messing around because he's painting these tree roots, but it's not like realistic style, and so they start making fun of him and all this, and he just goes nuts, and he starts screaming at him and chasing him, and all this stuff, and it's just a great scene, and just it's a really good movie. If you're a Willem Dafoe fan,
I have
fan of Van Gogh. This is a great movie. I mean, I love Lust for Life. I love the Kirk Douglas version.
Yeah.
And you're right, Anthony Quinn was a great Gauguin. Tim Roth played Van Gogh really well as well in Vincent and Theo is the name of that movie.
Right.
But Dafoe just knocks that out of the park. It's just a great movie. So, well, good. So we have one that we agreed on, and it's in the same slot. So
Yeah.
all right. So number 4. What's your number 4?
Okay.
Elana?
My number 4 is Antichrist, which is
Okay.
2009 by Lars von Trier.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
this,
You mean Last Temptation of Christ?
Not
No.
quite. Not
what
quite.
did I say? So in the vein of Lars von Trier, this movie is very difficult to watch. And if you can't see past the actual visuals or you try to take it literally, this is not the movie for you. You have to, there's also a puzzle in this movie as well. And you have to figure out what's happening. The short, quick version is that there's a he and a she, and he and a she are having shower sex as their child climbs out of the window and falls to their death.
Oh my goodness.
She takes it extremely hard and is hospitalized. And he is her husband. He is a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm not actually sure which one.
I think he's a psychologist.
But I think he can prescribe medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know exactly technically what
that
is.
He is a psychiatrist. Yeah.
But he's not happy with the treatment that she gets at the hospital, and so he takes over her treatment. In this movie, everybody is a metaphor, and all of the visuals are stunning, whether by stunning I mean so graphic that you're actually stunned and you can't believe what you're watching, which I did have moments of that, or stunning. I mean, there are actual visuals that are breathtakingly beautiful. But yes, everything in this movie means something else. It's part of a trilogy, which I haven't watched yet, but Manny and I were talking about that trilogy, which includes Melancholia and Necrophiliac, which is a 2-part movie. And I am not in love with the she in the movie. Charlotte Gainsborough, I think is her name. She's a French actress. She's a wonderful actress. She just doesn't, I don't know, she doesn't grab me the way that other actors and actresses would. And so I found myself rooting for Willem Dafoe, the he, in this movie. There are, I mean, let's be honest, okay? You're not going to watch your Lars von Trier movie and you know, be able to keep your eyes open the whole time. There are going to be brutal parts. You know, at one scene, she basically makes sure he doesn't go anywhere by drilling a hole through his leg and putting like a very heavy object on either side. I mean, it's very disturbing. If you can look past that, though, into what's happening, it is some people believe that it's an origin story. So it's about how man, I guess Adam, was very possessive and thought that he was the boss of Eve, and Eve introduced, I believe, according to Catholicism, introduced original sin into the world by eating the apple and making Adam eat it as well. But you can also see it as an origin story from a Jewish perspective, in addition, because it's basically how men and women interact and how they want to dominate each other. I think that there is a trend happening in the movies that I was watching, that they tend to be about, you know, the dynamics between pleasure and pain, or the dynamics between control and submission. And in this case, it's when nobody will be submissive. You have two, he and she, who are dominant and want control of the situation that nobody can have control over, because they lost, as seen by their child who fell to his death out the window. That you can't regain that. And so what happens? And then there's the isolation that the two of them suffer, because they decide to go revisit a cabin that they had been to with their son. You start to find out that because it is a puzzle, I don't want to give too much away, but it's dealing with mental health, and it's dealing with what exactly will drive people crazy, and what happens when they are driven to their limits. So there are a lot of different things that you can impose upon this and understand the world through, which was fascinating to me. And once I started picking it apart with one of my friends, I actually went from kind of being amazed and appalled to just loving this movie. I don't think I want to watch it again, because the first time I was very fortunate not to see it was like looking at crime photos. You know, I didn't see the actual thing. It was like my brain was working to solve the puzzle while I was watching some of these horrific things that do occur. But if you know Lars von Trier's work, I highly recommend it. It is a wonderful, beautiful, yes, beautiful and very difficult to watch at times movie.
Yeah.
But I have a fondness for it since I started picking it apart. So
Cool.
that's my
But you don't want to see it again.
You know, if I could watch it again without actually seeing some of the visuals, like if I knew in my
Watch it
head
like
that I
this.
could watch them, right? Like I could be like, okay, remember that actually means this. That's not for real. Because I mean, there were times I was like, oh wow, oh Lars von Trier, you're outdoing yourself.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I'm gonna have to watch this again because yeah.
But in my mind, the way I saw it, I would like to see it again and again and again and again, because I do have an affinity for this movie. But honestly, it's difficult. It's definitely not for those with a.
It's not for the weak of yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, it definitely is not. I mean, there were
and-
some photos that I saw, or some scenes that I personally saw that I was like, Lars, you are outdoing yourself. Like, I was like, I can't even believe. And, you know, I used to be
And not in a good way.
attorney. So
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of stuff. And his movies, I mean, from what I've seen though, that's what his movies are. Like, you have to get past that in order to absorb it and understand it and feel it. And because there is a he and a she, and there's a puzzle that you're solving, those images I don't see them like in full force like other people would see them.
As a literal thing, yeah. The other two movies that you're talking about, the first one was Melancholia, and the other one is Nymphomaniac.
Mm-hmm. And that's a two parts.
It's a two-part movie, yeah.
Yeah, you said like Necromania.
not Necromaniac, no. Nymphomaniac.
That's another guy.
Charlotte Gainsborough is a nymphomaniac, and we start the movie. So Willem Dafoe is in this movie, so I did start watching it, but then I was like, I don't think I can take two parts of this, so I'm going to watch something different by the same director.
Yeah.
We see her in an alley, basically being cleaned off by a kind gentleman. I believe he's older.
Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård. Yeah.
And she's just like, don't take care of me. I deserve what I got. And it's It's very, very difficult. This at least you have something like you're watching them have sex in the shower. It's kind of a safer place to start than in the alley where this woman was just completely brutalized. So
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's-
Rory, look on your face. Neither one's easy. Neither one's easy.
I'm not going to watch it.
I mean,
based on your
honestly,
opinion, not going to do
there are
it.
people that should not watch it. Like people should know what they can watch and what they can't watch.
I
when
watch
you're
movies to
dealing
be
with Lars.
entertained, not to be grossed out by, graphic,
Right.
just
Yeah.
for
And
the
definitely like
art.
it is
No.
really it, and that's what it is. But if you can see past that and you're the kind of person that enjoys watching that and delving into it with everything you have, then it's for you. And if you don't, then do yourself a favor and don't
a lot of other movies
watch
out
it. It's
there
not
that I'd
worth
rather
it.
see.
Exactly.
The Lighthouse, Inside. That sounds interesting. This one, no, not on my radar at all.
This was difficult, but yeah, I kept fooling around with where I should put it on my list, and I was like, wherever it goes, it's going to still be Lars von Trier's Antichrist. Like, it's not going to get better. You're still putting it on your top 5. So,
yeah.
But
So Rory,
I really, really have an affinity for it. So
Yeah.
there you go.
So what's your number 4?
I had to give number 4 to his Oscar-winning performance in Platoon. I'll be honest with you. I am not a huge Oliver Stone fan. I don't like a lot of his movies. This one I really liked. I mean, this one was real. I mean, there were guys that came into the movie theater that were Vietnam veterans, and they were like, "Oh my God, that is so close to what it really was like." He put a lot of himself into that, and a lot of his experiences into that.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them were traumatized. They're like, "Oh, geez, I was trying to forget all about that." And Dafoe's character, this is really where he became when he became an A-lister, was when he got the Academy Award for this one. And it's a great character. And the death scene's a little over dramatic, but I mean, him balanced off with Tom Berenger, while Charlie Sheen watches on, winning. It's a really good performance by him. He definitely deserved an Academy Award for it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this has ever happened before, but that's my number 4 as well.
Again?
Right. Number 4. Yeah.
You mean
Yes.
Antichrist?
Take a shot. This coffee, by the way.
I got a tie for number 5 too. I bet one of them's your number 5.
Maybe.
That's not my number 5.
So Platoon, yeah. I mean,
The worm is definitely turned for you.
Yeah. I mean, Dafoe definitely earned that Academy Award with Platoon.
It's amazing he doesn't
Charlie
have more,
Sheen,
really.
He really, he was very good in it. The whole cast was really good. Tom Berenger as the other sergeant, the more evil one, I guess.
Right.
Or more gung ho, like but yeah, I mean, it's harrowing. It's definitely a harrowing movie. Yeah, Stone exorcised a lot of his demons, I guess, from being in Vietnam himself, and so I think that's what gives it that just authenticity that some other films, set in Vietnam or other war movies just don't have. You feel like, as I say in Tropic Thunder, which kind of parodies this movie, put the boys right in the shit, put them in the bush, and that's how you feel. I mean, you feel that, and of course they parodied the death scene in that as well. But it's just a wonderful movie, whether you're into war movies or not. But it, the cast, everybody in this cast is great, and even Johnny Depp is in this movie. I forget that Depp. He has this little before he broke out and became famous.
There were two
Yeah.
brothers. I can't remember. One of them was in Something About Mary, and the other one with his younger brother was in
Dylan.
Kevin Dillon. Is it Kevin Dillon?
Kevin Dillon, yes.
Yeah.
He's even good in it. In this
He's
little
in it,
part.
yeah.
Yeah. Again, he went on to do the Blob remake, and he's done some other stuff. But what's the older brother's name? Matt Dillon. Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon.
Yeah.
He's the one that is better known.
He's more famous.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kevin Dillon and that was really a good character as well. I mean, just right down to the smaller characters, like you said, they're in the platoon. Yeah.
And I love John McGinley as the kind of bootlicker who follows the other sergeant around, and still gets screwed at the end. Like, yeah, you're the platoon leader now. Oh, great! I thought I was going home.
Yep.
So anyway, all right, Platoon, yeah,
good movie.
All right, so number 5.
Okay, my number 5 is Poor Things by Yorgos Lanthimos. It's a 2023 movie. It actually won a lot of awards. And
He's laughing because he knows I hate that movie.
This is really.
It just makes me shudder.
This is real. See, I knew it wasn't going to be your 5th.
Yeah. Because we were talking about Emma Stone, but
This
Emma Stone.
Definitely Emma Stone's movie.
People are like, "Oh, you're doing an Emma Stone show? You got to see it. She's naked in it." I'm like, okay.
This movie, honestly, it took me
have to go through
50 minutes to get into. The reason why is because Emma Stone's character is a pregnant woman who jumped off of a bridge. And Willem Dafoe's character is a scientist, we'll call him a mad scientist, who decided to take what was left and took the child from her womb and took the child's brain and put it in the woman's head. So Emma Stone starts the movie with basically acting like a infant or a 2-year-old, and I couldn't. That part was really hard to watch, just because I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of kids. I don't think it's cute when they're like, "Oh, I went wee wee, blah blah blah," and there was a lot of that kind of stuff in the beginning, and I was like, at 50 minutes, like 45 minutes in, I'm like, okay, am I shutting this off or am I going to give it some more time? And for some reason, at the 50-minute mark, all of a sudden I just realized that Emma Stone is actually id. She is supposed to be Freud's id, and she's not. So I basically have made everybody in my list into metaphors, and this is how I enjoy these films. At the 50-minute mark, when she starts being id, she's incredible. She decides that she wants, and I know that this caused a lot of controversy because people saw her as a child being a prostitute, but really what is
sexualized.
Yes, but that's not in my version of the film. What happened at the 50-minute mark is that I realized the reason why she has an infant brain is because they need her to be pure id, and then she needs to go through life to achieve ego and superego. And so that's what you're actually watching in my version of the movie. And so this movie became something that was literal and difficult to watch and not fun. And I felt like I wanted to give the child back to something that became this really fascinating Freudian film. his performance, Willem Dafoe's performance, is amazing. He is continuously says he's a man of science, but the way that he takes care of Bella, who is Emma Stone's character, he's created basically a Frankenstein monster, but he loves her and he's so delicate with her. And you see when she leaves, there's another girl that comes in and you don't get all the information about her, but he keeps himself very distant from her. So you can see how he is a man of science, but he just has such paternal feelings towards this creature that he created. And this creature goes on to be this brilliant, fascinating woman. And I'm not going to give away the ending, but the ending is beautiful, and the movie is hysterical. Like at the 50-minute mark, it turned into fun, and I was laughing through the whole thing. And again, if you take it as a metaphor, this movie's great. You know, the other thing that was very telling to me is all of the sets they look like they came out of Bosch's painting. What is it? The Garden of...
Oh, Garden of Earthly Delights.
Yes, the Garden of
Hieronymus
Earthly Delights.
Yeah.
And that, I think at the 50-minute mark, that clicked in my head because we actually saw a vision. Like we actually see that the outside looks like that. And so you realize that it's not literal. You realize the atmosphere is telling you that something different is happening in this movie. And once I realized that, I loved it. But yeah, if you're going to take it literally, you're not going to like it. You're going to think that there's pedophilia going on, which again, she wants to get paid to, I forget what she says, furiously jump on men. And then you see how it wears on her. But she's it. You know, she wants sex and she wants money, and then she develops into something different, something more full, you know, filled out by what she learns as her id grows into a fully formed being. So a fully formed metaphorical being. So if that made sense, I highly recommend it. And if it didn't make sense, then yeah, just go with Rory and pick a different movie.
Telling you, you're going to be upset you lost that time. You're never going to get it back. That's the way I felt. That's the way she felt until the 50-minute mark.
True.
You really want to take the gamble on 50 minutes?
The movies
Yeah.
that I like
okay, that's what it is. It's a metaphor. Yeah, I love this movie.
definitely not for everyone. And I just also want to say that I am so aware of the fact that I am educated to see this in a certain way, right? So if I can't deal with it in one way, I have these different pathways that I can use, that I can understand, you know, movies or plays or something in a different way. And that's because I've chosen to have that education. And that's not for everybody. And that education's not for everybody. And I totally recognize that. So I'm not trying to be, what is that
Ooh,
word?
you got an education.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be like, you're such a,
Well.
you know, like I'm not trying to be like
Yeah,
that.
I
Like,
guess I better get my education.
this is so high class, and how dare you not
Yeah.
read it properly?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
know that I'm seeing it the way that is not accessible to everybody. So, you know, but if you do and you like that, I wanted to offer a different option. So
That's great. No, I love that. Yeah. All right. Well, I actually haven't seen it, so I can't judge either way. But
I'll be honest with you. The worst thing about it for me was how disappointing it was to actually been after all the hype and everything of, oh, you get to see him stone nude, you know. how disappointing that was.
Yeah, I mean the
Because
controversy
she's new
is,
with Mark Ruffalo.
yeah, the controversy, I
And
think,
it looks
to
so
me personally, and I don't want to offend anyone,
blasé.
to me it was ridiculous. I mean, she's a grown woman. She's making her own choices. Yes, I understand how she got there, but don't take that literally. So, yeah, I mean, in any kind of Frankenstein movie, though, you're going to have to
All these
bend
glamorous
a
characters
little.
that she's played up to this point, you
Right.
create in your mind a fantasy.
Yeah.
You see it right here in front of you, and it's like, wah, wah,
Oh, that's
wow.
really, those
I
first
didn't
15
expect
minutes
that.
are rough. They're really, really rough because if you don't want to watch that and you don't, you're not a big fan of kids, it's like, oh my goodness. but it was really worth it once she moved past that phase. But yeah, I definitely I see my role here as presenting alternative. So
Okay.
this is an alternative.
Great.
But yeah,
Great.
it was disappointing because I don't believe it should be controversial in the way that it is. But that's just my opinion.
Okay. Cool. So Rory, what's your number 5? Let's see
The
if we
two
match.
that tied for number 5 were two performances he gave. He's actually just chewing up the scenery. You could tell he's having a great time doing both of these characters. And that's Shadow the Vampire and Mr. Bean's Holiday. Two way at the other end of the spectrum. But again,
Okay.
playing the vampire, the Nosferatu vampire.
What a fun movie.
And yes, and a great artsy film that pays homage properly to the original. Again, him
And
and
you're
Malkovich,
hooked
you can't go wrong.
immediately.
And
Don't wait
you could
15
just tell
minutes.
he's having the time of his life shooting that film. And again, when Mr. Bean's Holiday, he plays this really stuck-up, pretentious director, foreign director, and Mr. Bean just kind of hijacks, what he's trying to do at this film festival. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. He has to go with it. He has to go with the flow. It's really, really, really funny. And again, you can just tell he's having a great time performing, doing these performances. So that's my number 5. Those are my number 5.
Okay. Well, actually, no. Neither of those.
I thought Shadow the Vampire was going to be your number 5.
No, well, Shadow the Vampire is one of my honorable mentions. Actually, my number 5 is, I think it's my guilty pleasure, and that is Streets of Fire.
Okay.
One of his earlier movies where he plays the biker villain, and it's silly. It's an action movie. It's very 80s. Michael Paré plays the hero of the story. You got Diane Lane. You got Rick Moranis. But then along comes Willem Dafoe, who plays the villain of the story in his weird sort of vinyl outfit and 80s or 50s pompadour. But right from the beginning, right there, I think that's when I fell in love with Willem Dafoe, is from this movie. Because I think that's really the first time that I saw him, and I thought, who is this guy? Who? Wow, And of course, he just talk about chewing the scenery. He's just such a perfect villain. And I wish there had been a lot more of him in the movie, but it's just terrific. It's just, like I said, it's a great little performance, and really, it was really my introduction to Willem Dafoe. And ever since then, I'm like, I'm following this guy's career because I want to see what he comes up with next. And then, of course, he does Platoon and
Did you
all
see
the other movies.
Budapest Hotel? Because I think Wes
Yes.
Anderson was right there with you.
Yeah, and he's been in several of his movies as well.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
My first actual sampling of Willem Dafoe is To Live and Die in L.A., where he played Eric Nestor.
Right, right, right.
And
Very
that's a
good.
very 80s movie too.
And that,
Yeah,
and
it
again,
was
it
very
was
80s.
right after what you were talking about, Streets of Fire. So I mean,
Yeah.
those are the movies that actually kind of shot him off to stardom.
Yeah. Oh, and
Made
Loveless.
him a
I don't know if you
household
guys
name.
saw Loveless, but he likes to play a biker guy.
Yeah, I think Loveless was actually his first movie.
Loveless is kind of like his version of Kevin Bacon's Diner. You know, there are a lot of people like John Turturro's in it. There are a lot of people who were in it before they became famous, and they're bikers. And yeah, he had a number of movies.
Yeah, that's the movie that got him out of live theater and into film. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
He was like, hey, I could get used to this. I like this.
Yeah.
You know, where's the craft table?
The performance garage and onto the set.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
A lot of any honorable mentions that you have not mentioned that you want to?
Yeah, I have so many. So I'll start with Animal Factory from 2000, which is directed by Steve Buscemi, and is about, I was watching it and I was like, this looks really familiar. So I think I actually saw it in 2000, and I think I saw it after I saw Steve Buscemi live with a Worcester group. And watching them work together always makes me very, very happy whenever, the members of this group get together and they do work together. It is basically they're in prison, and Willem Dafoe is like the elderly, OG guy who has lots of contacts and connections, and he takes this younger person who happens to be in this very, very intense prison just for minor drug crimes that he should never have been in, and he gets him. He basically has him escape and then stays back. But the relationship between the two of them is really beautiful, especially because, they're in prison. They say it's a hardcore prison. And, there's a lot of talk about people don't have these kinds of relationships. You have the up and you have the top and you have the bottom. You don't have, an older gentleman taking care of a young, pretty guy, and so that
play house.
And it was really beautiful to watch. And he does a really lovely job when you get to see a sentimental side, and it was Steve Buscemi's in it. He did a really wonderful job directing it, and I really enjoyed that. Shadow the Vampire, that's one of my honorable mentions. I've already seen it twice. I watched it yesterday. I only went through half. Because then I fell asleep. But just watching the first half, it is so fun. Everything about it is so fun.
If you can get to the 50-minute mark.
I didn't make it to the minute. Well, I did 2 times before. So we already know that one doesn't need 50 minutes to, get used to. That one, that one just starts out, like you said, he is having a blast. And I love that little thing that he does, it's like, oh my God, you're
Scream girl, I kill her too.
I want it back off, and it's great. He just uses these tiny little things that make him fit into that character, whoever that character is, and does separate him. Like, I come away from this, and I'm not done with my honorable mentions, but I come away from this. I really believe that he's one of the best actors of our time. And I am biased because I love where his beginnings were from. He's just an upper middle class, Midwestern boy who went to the big city and, got to hang out with Kate Volk and Elizabeth LeCompte and turned into who he is, and he's brilliant. Another one of mine, Daybreakers, which is a very interesting take on a vampire movie. And I'll just leave it at that. Ethan Hawke is in it. If you like vampire movies, little different. Daybreakers.
Yeah,
The Florida Project. The Florida Project is amazing. That one, I believe, he was up for a nomination, an Academy Award nomination. And from what some of my friends in the actual movie business have told me is that was largely improvised. So again, you know, he can just work without a script, move around the space. He knows, you know, the space like it's part of him, and everything just becomes an extension. And it's, you get to see the good side of him. And it was a difficult movie. I mean, the subject matter is very difficult. It's about people who can't afford to live in an apartment, and so they end up living in these very low rent, you know, unclean, unsanitary condition homes in Florida. I saw a documentary called The OC, and it was basically about kids who live in hotels with their parents because the cost of living is so expensive. So it's a peek into a darker side, but he really tries to lighten up the mood. And he's very, you know, he cares about everybody there, and you really feel that. And it's a feel-good movie. I have a feel-good movie on my list.
I gotta be honest. I wanted to like this movie, but it just didn't float my boat.
Yeah.
And
he's not.
I mean,
in
the
as
kid
much as I
actor.
would like.
Yeah, and the kid actors.
Jimmy Bennett loved it.
I thought it was so
Oh,
fun, but it was that. Oh,
Yeah.
Jamie's.
Yeah, I haven't
watched
seen it. So, what kind of
Daybreakers.
character does Willem Dafoe play in it?
So Willem
He plays the
Dafoe is a
manager
manager of this
of the hotel. Yeah.
low
So he's
budget
kind of like the
hotel.
sleazeball.
Well,
Hotel,
see, here's
yeah.
the thing: is he doesn't have to be the sleazeball because there's actually an owner, and the owner comes to him and says, "I don't want these people in my hotel." Right? They're the other people who I do want, the clientele that I do want to come to my motel. They are not coming because you actually see people come and they want to check in, and then they see, oh, there's bed bugs, and there's that girl running around, and there's that woman who clearly lives here. Okay, we're leaving. And so the owner tells him, you have to clean this up. You have to get rid of these people. So he cares, and he doesn't want to. And he tries to negotiate with other hotels, you know, to make sure that the people have places to live. And he really goes out of his way to do that. And I think that it's good that he was the manager and not the owner, so we could see that softer side of him. And, you know, the kids love him. There's a pedophile that comes over and starts talking to the kids. And the way that he deals with him and makes sure that he never comes back, you know, he just scares the shit out of him. And he's like paternal, you know, to all of these kids that live there. And his heart breaks for them. I really thought that it was beautiful. Oh, Boondock Saints. Did you guys watch that? That was wild.
Oh, yeah.
He plays a cop.
Boondock Saints.
He plays a cop. I'm sorry, a detective.
Yeah, he's a detective.
He's a detective who loves opera and who does improvisational dance in order to find out what happened, to solve what he's trying to figure out. And I couldn't have loved that more. I mean, the fact he's just like twirling around, and it kind of reminded me of my courtroom days. And I connected in this really just like goofy way with his character, you know, that like you have to do these horrible things and see this horrible side of life and try to figure it out. So you do whatever you need to do, which in his case is listen to opera and do weird improvisational movement dances, you know, to figure out this really dark thing that you have inside of you that you have to bring out while you're solving this crime. Murders, they're all murders. And everybody else in it is amazing too. And I really enjoyed this movie. Oh my god, I'm sorry. American Psycho, he's the so the big question, is he real or is he not real? Because that, I thought that was the first time I had that experience. I've seen that movie like 7 times. And that was really interesting to me, is I don't think he's real. I think we're back to my metaphors. Like, I think
possibly, yeah. At the end, they kind of give you a twist where you're wondering what is real and what isn't. And
right, and it's fascinating.
And that would definitely kind of sway him over to the category of, well, he probably wasn't real. But the interesting thing about this, and you can find it on the net, is that the director had Dafoe, because he knew he was such an accomplished actor, do each take at least 3 times.
Yes.
One where he is oblivious to Christian Bale's character being the murderer. One where he suspects that he's the murderer. And then one where he actually knows he's the murderer and he's just kind of leading him. And so he had every take that he did in that film. He did it 3 different times. And they pick and chose which ones worked better.
And that,
so sometimes you get, oblivious. Sometimes you get, I know you killed him.
And that also really fleshes out the, is he real or is he not real? Because this was the first time I actually watched Willem Dafoe, because normally you're watching the movie, you're watching Christian Bale, you're watching what it's about. I like Brett Ellison. I just butchered his name. I'm a big fan of his writing, and I never stopped to look at Willem Dafoe and question, is that real? But then, of course it's not real because of the timing, but what is going on with it? Like, I just saw a whole new side of it. So if you follow different characters through that movie, you get these completely different movies that you're watching. And I never noticed that before. That was very fascinating. It was a really interesting way to watch it. We'll do these 2 together. The Grand Budapest Hotel, which I already said, he's that character with a motorcycle and a leather jacket. And the Fantastic Mr. Fox, both Wes Anderson movies. He's the rat who is the security rat, and he's amazing and very fun.
No love for the aquatic world of Steven Zissou?
Oh, yes. But
I didn't put that on the list because it's an ensemble film. And again, most Wes Anderson films are ensemble films. Except for like the main character, usually played by Ralph Fiennes.
Yes.
The other characters are just kind of secondary. And he's good. He's very good in those movies. All of those movies.
So fun.
But it's just a smaller part compared to the big whole.
Mention. And I had to honorable mention this one, because this movie is very near and dear to my heart. I believe it was in 87. There was a movie called Wings of Desire by Wim Wenders that came out, and it is one of my all-time favorite movies. In 1993, Far Away So Close, the sequel came out. So Wings of Desire is basically about these 2 angels, and you watch them watching over Berlin. And Berlin, because 1987, Berlin was just gutted because of the Holocaust. And to me personally, it's a very, I have the majority of my family on my dad's side was wiped out in the Holocaust. And so this movie to me is a very delicate, very beautiful film about these angels that are watching over Germany as it rebuilds itself and as it distances itself from the past. And in the Wings of Desire, one of the angels falls to Earth because he falls in love with this woman, Marion. So in 1993, we get Far Away So Close. And Far Away So Close the other angel misses his friend, and he wants to go fall as well and become a human and spend time with his friend who used to be a fallen angel. And I have to throw this in there, but one of the fallen angels is Columbo. So he also spends time with Columbo, and he spends time with Marion.
Are you talking about Peter Falk? Excuse me, pardon me.
Oh, it's hysterical. I love that they have Columbo, and Columbo is doing a movie. Anyway, and Far Away So Close, Willem Dafoe is kind of a villain, but kind of not. So his friend, the angel friend, jumped because of love, and he now is with Marion having a beautiful life. So his friend jumps in Far Away So Close into human form, and Willem Dafoe's character is like, you're not going to have the same experience. Your life is not going to be beautiful when you jump. You need to be where you were. You were doing better as an angel. It was better for you. It was better for the world. And so he has to go in there, and along with, I believe, Natasha Kinski's character, they have to get him to become an angel again, to agree to become an angel again. And it's definitely not as good as Wings of Desire, but it is an interesting follow-up to it. So that
I have to address the
my
comment by
honorable
Queen
mentions.
Glamazora, who basically stated, and they're becoming a regular, it was Willem Dafoe just collecting a paycheck when he did Speed 2 Cruise Control.
Oh, definitely.
It's
That
at a
could have been
time, yeah, he was still establishing himself as a character
needed
actor.
some money for the Worcester Group next.
And again,
next
you
performance.
get all these memes of that crazy smile of his from the movie. And again, you could tell he was having a good time filming that. But yeah, it was just such a terrible movie with such a terrible script.
You know, in Far Away So Close, he looks like he's having a lot of fun too. I think he likes playing villains, but I think that he likes to have a range.
Acting. He likes acting in front of the cameras.
He does, and he gets such a kick out of some of these villains. Like
yeah.
I couldn't believe how much he relished, you know, like toying with this angel that just fell to earth, and he's like, yeah, you're not staying here, buddy. And it was just so, yeah, in that case, I have to recommend that people watch Wings of Desire first, and then lower their expectations and watch Far Away So Close. But it is worth watching. So,
and there's a remake. There's an American remake called, I think it's called City of Angels.
Yeah, I don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't.
Sorry.
With
sorry, that's not one that I ever talk
Meg
about.
Ryan.
That's like worse than Nosferatu.
And
Like they were saying Nosferatu is, you know, he who shall not be named, and
Dennis
everything
Franz.
is out of a vampire. Like, yeah, City of Angels.
Yeah.
No.
Not as good.
That made me so mad because I was like, I used to teach a criticism class, and I made sure, because I believe the City of Angels was only made because people were not okay with subtitles and foreign films. And so in my criticism class, I used to make them watch Wings of Desire. And I have never had a student, so that's 4 semesters of a criticism class. And that's, you know, underclassmen watching this movie that they would never watch under normal conditions. They loved it when they were forced to sit there and watch it. I mean, they thought it was an amazing, beautiful movie. And the first time I watched it, I didn't get it. I have to say, I saw it when I was in high school. I didn't understand it. And then, you know, I grew up a little and I fell in love with it. So it's accessible. You just have to try a little.
Yeah.
Oh, Streets of Fire. You were talking about that.
Yeah. So Rory, what are your
We
honorable
talked about
mentions?
most of them. American Psycho. We talked about Autofocus. We did mention John Wick, where he plays a character. It's a kind of a
Wanna
small
watch
character.
that?
Aquaman in the Marvel universe, he's Vulko.
Yeah.
There's one that I really, when you say this is really super creepy, Willem Dafoe, that's saying something right there.
Yeah.
But there is a movie called Death Note, which is based on a anime.
Right.
Oh, I was gonna
Yes.
watch that. Was it
Yes.
good?
And he plays the demon Ryuk. And again, the voice,
Oh,
you
so
just
good.
know. You just know.
Oh
And
my god, I was so into it, and then I was like, okay, focus, watch something else. But
yeah, it's not as good as it's not near as good as the anime.
the anime.
But
That's what I read.
but his performance in it is definitely noteworthy. He does an interesting, creepy demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you watch the first 10 minutes of it, you really want to stick with it. Like that movie, I was really sad to leave. I'm gonna go
But it's the
back
50-minute mark that
Yes. If you can get past that
to be
50-minute mark.
honest.
we get to the 50-minute mark. Did we discuss the Lighthouse? Yes, we did.
Yes.
Beetlejuice,
Love
Beetlejuice.
Death
He's
Note.
making
I'm
fun of
gonna have
all
to
his
watch
cop
that.
characters, which I thought was really funny. There's a lot about the movie. It just didn't grab me like the first one. And he seems a little out of place in it. Believe
I'm
it or
sorry, which movie?
not. Beetlejuice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he just appears at the end.
Well, he's in the last half of the film. Yeah, he plays a detective that's trying to make sense of everything.
Yeah, it was a little...
And again, he's making fun of all of his
strange.
detective characters that he's played in movies over the years, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
I got Nosferatu, he plays Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz. What a name! And yeah, he's basically Van Helsing, and it's nice to see him
40-minute
on the other side of the coin. Instead of playing a vampire, he's playing Von Helsing, which is kind of nice. That was the best part of that film for me. Was him.
Yeah,
okay.
it was him. Yeah.
So the Last Temptation of Christ, I call it Creepy Christ already, so we got that out of the way.
I'm excited to watch Creepy Christ.
Creepy Christ. It really is. That's what you're going to say. Yeah, you won't be able to get away from it.
That sounds great.
The dishonorable mention is Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Oh.
Actually try to get us to believe he's Mexican. Barrio. And God, he gives it his all, but you're just like, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
one movie.
almost forgot about that one, but I like that one.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie, but I just have a hard time accepting him as a Mexican.
Yeah.
But it's a great movie. It really is a good movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've mentioned pretty much everything on my list. Spider-Man, which was in my top 5, but other things knocked it off. Nosferatu and
I have heard very good things about that movie.
Nosferatu. To me, it's like almost a double bill. Shadow of the Vampire and Nosferatu.
There you go.
Wild at Heart. We didn't mention that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wild at Heart. Movie.
Crazy teeth.
Yeah, it's great performance. And
he's amazing. We already discussed it with Lynch, so I didn't go back to it. But
that's the reason I didn't mention it here, was
so
because we had already talked about it with Lynch.
Yeah, but I had to put it on my list. Autofocus is another one. Autofocus. I thought he was great in that. And the Boondock Saints, which also features Billy Connolly, which is a great Scottish comedian, and Norman Reedus. From The Walking Dead, plays Daryl in The Walking Dead.
And the whole movie was really enjoyable, I thought.
And Sean Patrick Flannery, who played a young Indiana Jones in the TV show, and he's great in it. But yeah, Willem Dafoe as the detective, doing, like you said, doing the interpretive dance. It was awesome.
Oh my god, awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
If I ever work again, like as a courtroom attorney, I'm totally doing that.
Do some interpretive dance. And then what happened was, and they turned around
And
Yeah.
then
And again,
Oh,
he's doing
I
that
love-
Beetlejuice.
I
Yeah.
love the first
Which
scene.
part? Yeah.
The first scene in Boondock Saints where they just like fall through the hole exactly in the right position to just like blow everyone away, and then he's like, it's just so great.
It spinned around.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Spun around. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. There's our discussion on Willem Dafoe.
Oh,
And-
thank you. This was such a blast.
Yeah. Well, always a delight to have you on here, Elana.
Thank you very much.
Always enjoy
I
having you
really
here.
enjoyed this one,
And
especially.
you gave us some food for thought, some little deeper ways of looking at movies.
I have some movies I need to
Skip past that
watch.
But you got to get past that 50-minute mark.
In the
that's gonna be it.
Well, see, in the 80s, they wouldn't let me watch movies about Christ, so now I have to go see.
Now you can,
I
watch
have to
this
go
one.
see it.
Yeah. It'll reaffirm your faith
or lack thereof.
or lack thereof. Exactly. Yeah. All right. So next week we are going to do a little bit of a theme show. I mentioned before that there were 5 legendary British or English characters, and we've done 3 of them already. We've done Bond, done Sherlock Holmes, and Dracula. So there's 2 left, and the one we're doing next week is Robin Hood.
Oh,
Right, Robin of Locksley.
Interesting.
There are a ton of movies.
yeah.
A few that are really, really good.
I know what my dishonorable mention is going to be already.
Ooh.
So
If
and
I'm
comedies
able
as well.
to join, I look forward to finding the most whacked out Robin Hood movies I could possibly find.
Yeah. So and speaking of which, Dafoe did a voice in Finding Nemo. He was
Yes.
And actually, that has made so when I first start, I usually look at whoever we're doing, and I just look at through top 10s, to see. And you can find a lot of rare movies that way. And that movie, the voice he did from Finding Nemo, that's on so many people's top 10s, which is really interesting.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we have on tap for the rest of the week, Rory? What's going on?
Tomorrow, season 2 of Roland Pruitt's Kaiju Review starts with the return of Godzilla. Godzilla Returns, 1984. And then we're doing another unboxing for James Bond this Thursday. It is a potpourri. There are 6 packets of this, 7 packets of that. I got 20 packets from 3 different sets of James Bond collectible cards. So we should have a lot of fun opening those. Who knows? Again, we're rolling the dice. We're taking our chances. Who knows? We might get another $1,000 card. Yeah, we might not get anything.
You never
But
know.
we're rolling the dice.
Yep.
So yeah.
All right. So
Sandy D and No Icing on Thursday after that. And of course, Robin Hood next Monday.
And I promise the the murder show is coming. It is. I've been struggling.
That's the murder. We're
a
gonna give
little
it to
bit.
you.
I've been struggling a little bit with my health and had to throw a vacation in there, but yeah.
Whenever you're ready, we're ready.
I'm very excited for it.
Okay.
Thank you both. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you. Yes.
I love being on the show, and thank you for.
Are you coming next week for Robin Hood?
Love having you.
I'm gonna see how I feel.
Okay.
But, I might. Yeah, it might be a really fun to find some underground Robin Hood movies.
I'm sure there are. Yeah.
A lot of Robin Hood movies out there.
I hadn't even thought about it, but there are so many of them. Oh my gosh, there's tons of them.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank everybody for watching. Thanks to everyone who commented, and we'll see you next week for Robin Hood.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal Talking About Movies. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to get future episodes.